You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers today, so let's get started with Nate's second call.
Hey, it's Nate again. I just had to call in one more time because, again, as I was listening to the episode, you were kind of talking about the whole conspiracy around the Chiefs getting all the calls. I don't really care, what other people think. I'm definitely on the side that they do get the calls and that there is not. I don't know if I would call it, a conspiracy necessarily. But I think if you're watching the modern NFL and you can't see that the NFL is probably influencing like one media darling team, I think you're a little bit naive. Okay, I'm not saying that they outright are like telling all 100 and whatever refs to go out there and just give them all the calls, but you could tell one, the head referee, you could tell one or two referees to just, throw a few extra here and there. I don't know how anybody could think that isn't happening, especially with the Chiefs right now. The first media darling that I remember is the Patriots, okay? With Tom Brady and everything. They were just beloved. And then before that it was probably the Cowboys. There's always going to be one, and they're going to get a little bit of preferential treatment.
Well, and that's what the Packers are always accused of. But my point is, we don't need that extra piece of the NFL is having this massive conspiracy where people from the front office are paying off referee. That's an unnecessary thing, because you can understand a situation in which the referees would be much more cautious and much more, oh boy, don't touch him when it's a superstar quarterback. Again, it happened to Aaron Rodgers all the time. It happened to Tom Brady. It happened, and they weren't beloved. They were hated. These teams are hated. They have their fan bases that love them, and they're winning all the time, but everybody else hates them. When Dallas was winning all the time, everybody hated the Cowboys. Yeah, the fan base grows and everything because you got a bunch of fair weather. I'll be nice because my nephew's one of them, but you have these people who just latch on to the winning teams. But outside of that, nobody likes the Chiefs. Everybody hates the Chiefs, just like everybody hated and still hates the Patriots, just like everybody hates the Dallas Cowboys. To this day, half of Packer fans hate the Dallas Cowboys more than their own division rivals because of the 1990s. So these aren't loved. They're not beloved. And I can't think of a single reason why the NFL would want to influence these things, why they would risk it, because it's anytime something like this happens, what happens? One of the people retires and they write a book and they go out and talk about, yes, I was paid to do this. These things always leak out. There's never been anything for 25, 30 years of referees making preferential calls towards superstars. And again, you don't need I don't believe it because it's an unnecessary thing to believe. We don't have to add on that next step. It's happening. It is annoying, but it makes sense. Like I said, same with the home teams tend to get more calls than the away teams. Why? Is it because some grand conspiracy theory of the Bilderbergs? Or is it just natural human nature? Which is stupid, but it's a good enough explanation without taking it to the next step of condemning all these people. And I have nothing against condemning Roger Goodell. I don't like Roger Goodell at all. But it doesn't make sense to take it to that next step, and it's unnecessary. We all agree. We all agree that the Chiefs are getting all the calls. The why? We can all sit around and come up with random conspiracy theories, but I don't find it to be necessary. Never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence. I tend to like that little razor
because they are the team that's making the NFL the most money right now. I don't think that's
but that's circular reasoning. To say that they're winning and making all the money because the NFL is benefiting them, because they're making the money, because the NFL is I mean, they why bother doing that? Somebody's going to make you all the money. If you stop benefiting them, if you stop giving them everything, which again, Kansas City is a small market. They were a small market garbage team. They started winning because of Pat Mahomes, and then they started getting all the calls because of Pat Mahomes, because he's Pat Mahomes. It doesn't really make sense to me to say, hey, let's just prop up this team, and then they'll make all the money. If let's just say all the bad calls went away, and then they weren't winning anymore, and then Lamar Jackson went on to win a Super Bowl, guess what? They'd make a ton of money off the Baltimore Ravens. So, they're going to make money either way. There's going to be a team that wins. There's going to be a team that goes to there's going to be two teams in the Super Bowl, and those teams are going to make the NFL a bunch of money. I mean, it's not like they're making money off of Taylor Swift. And, I mean, if that's the idea, and by the way, this was going on before the Taylor Swift thing, so that wouldn't even really work to say, well, we get a couple extra eyeballs from 13-year-old girls because Taylor Swift is going to be on the screen. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. It's
disputable. You can try to argue if you want, but I'm going to tell you to go pound sand.
That's fine.
But I think the bigger thing right now is the Chiefs are getting so many calls, and I know that everybody thinks this is a tired argument, but it's for the Swifties. Like, are you joking me? The NFL finally has a chance to open the female market, something that
but that's and look, maybe they're that stupid. It's not going to work. If Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift get married and then they win the Super Bowl, and Travis, they win the Super Bowl, he drops to a knee, they get married, and then he says, I'm retiring. Guess what? 0 Swifties watch football next year. 0. This isn't going to open a market. They don't give a damn about football. They don't care, and they won't care. They're not even watching because they put on a Chiefs jersey because of Taylor Swift, right? As soon as she's gone, they're gone. That's it. So, and again, maybe whether that's true or not, the NFL is too stupid to recognize it, so they are pushing it. But again, you'd have to explain why these things happened to Tom Brady. Where was the Taylor Swift? Why did it happen to Aaron Rodgers? Where was the Tom Brady? Where was the Taylor Swift? There wasn't one. And why were they benefiting Aaron Rodgers and giving him all those calls all those years when we weren't even winning Super Bowls? It's not about any of that. Rodgers was a superstar, and if anybody put their hand on Aaron Rodgers, there was a flag, because he's a superstar and you don't touch him. And you don't need a directive from up above for that to be true.
Haven't really been able to do. It's pretty obvious that the NFL and football is probably a primarily male-driven sport, mostly for men. I'm not saying there aren't female fans. Obviously there are. But as a whole, who is it marketed towards primarily? But they finally, because one of the Chiefs players who's already a big name is now dating the biggest pop star on the planet in Taylor Swift, and you don't think that they're gonna try to nudge games in the favor of that team to keep them interested, to keep them coming back and watching more, get them as interested as us? Again, don't be naive. They are obviously going to be doing that. To what degree, that's debatable, but I would say it's impossible for them to not be trying to put their hands in on that. And that's what I have to say. And again, if you want to argue with me, go pound sand. Go Pack, go.
Well, I mean, it's honestly an argument that you're going to have a really hard time winning because it's entirely unprovable, right? I mean, I can have an explanation that doesn't include that, which means you'd have to take it a step farther to explain why my explanation isn't sufficient, and you can't. It just, the fact that it makes sense that somebody could be cynical enough to do it, the fact that if it happened, it would make them more money, therefore it's happening, I don't know. I don't know that that's sufficient enough for me. Again, they've put a ton of rules in place to protect quarterbacks. Because, I mean, you want to talk about nudging, there's your nudging. They're very explicitly telling referees, do not let them touch our superstars. That's all of them, though, right? I mean, that's, you know, and any time a quarterback gets hit, I promise you, you know, any time, especially somebody like Mahomes gets hit, I'm sure the referees get an earful about it. So, again, is there nudging? Yeah, there's nudging. I think it has more to do with the superstar thing, though, than we're going to force the Chiefs to win so that we can get a bunch of Swifties to start watching football. I don't know. Again, I think that they would like it. I think that they would. I know that they've been trying to market more to women, to kids, to every demographic that isn't super into it. They've had the La Football thing or whatever, where they're marketing to Hispanics. They're marketing to every demographic that actually doesn't really like football in hopes of expanding. Because, you know, again, that certainly seems to be the NFL's aim, is to focus on everything that doesn't love football, right? Screw the USA, we're going to branch out. Screw men, we're going to go after women. Screw the white and black people that love football, we're going after Hispanics and Chinese people or something. I don't know. I don't mind trying that. What I don't like is having sort of a flippant, we don't care attitude toward the people that actually genuinely do like football. Right? That's what I don't like about all the programming that they have for the NFL, because I'm watching and I'm like, who is this for? Because this is not entertainment that like people that like football would want to watch. You've got all these NFL Hall of Famers on there just acting like complete morons. But that's also why shows like, you know, Barstool and Pat McAfee, that's why they're popping off. Because that's actual football people, you know, what is the one with the bus, the guys on the bus or something. These shows are becoming massively popular because it's football guys acting like football guys. And football people are like, finally, I have a place to go. And I think that is where the NFL is going wrong. Their entire focus is on everybody else. So I agree with you that they're stupid in that way and that they are trying to market to people that don't care about football. That doesn't mean that they're explicitly telling them, I want you to just benefit Pat Mahomes and just benefit the Chiefs because I want Swifties to start watching football. That to me is a bit of a stretch, I would say. All right, let's take a break. Screw it. That was a good one. I like that. We'll take a break. We got Drew and then some more Kyle.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay. This is going to be a political phone call, but
here we go.
It's related to sports. So ESPN ran an article about how apparently the players were surveyed about whether they're happy or not about how many black people are in head coaching positions, and Terry McLaurin said he never had a black head coach and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the scumbags turn off comments. Well, this really pisses me off because I feel like the NFL is systematically removing white people and saying white people need not apply to the NFL. You are not welcome. Only black people are welcome. It does not matter how many black people are in the NFL. They are pushed more and more to try to dominate the sport. Now you look at players are over 50% black, despite in the U.S. being only about 14% of the population now. And in 2023, if you look through, assistant coaches, 36%, general managers, 26%. This is just black people, not all minorities. CEO, presidents, 15%. And then you have professional staff, executive leadership, league office, vice presidents, senior administrators. That's 11 to 15% in that area. And then you have head coaches, 9.4%. 9.4% is 3 teams had a black head coach in 2023. You know what a small data set this is? That from 2023 to 2024, that number went from 3 head coaches that were black to 6 head coaches that were black. And that means that they were well overrepresented from the 14%. They were like in 22%. And guess what? Nobody was complaining. that there were too many black head coaches. Oh, no, they were still complaining that there's not enough black head coaches, because guess what? It now needs to represent how many black players there are. We don't need to talk about how black players are overrepresented massively. We don't need to talk about how the NFL creates programs to go to historically black colleges and all that, and don't create programs for predominantly white areas that have snowy areas that can't afford to be playing football year-round and all of that. There are a lot of white areas that are completely ignored, and the NFL is just targeting black people, trying to get them in. And you know what the worst part is? Terry McLaurin had a minority head coach, Ron Rivera. It's f***ing ridiculous. I can't stand ESPN. I can't stand the NFL. They can shove their,
That 3-minute monster had enough of that. Well, look, the problem I have is I don't think a lot of this is done in good faith. I don't know. I more nibble around the edges than what you did, kind of just coming in with a sledgehammer when we talk about these issues. But the biggest issue I have is what is explicitly happening, and nobody seems to want to just come out and say it because I don't think that they actually believe it. But my question would be: Are you actually telling me that you believe? And if you believe this, then I'm questioning a lot of your actions. Do you genuinely believe that the reason that we have, and like you said, this isn't always the case. There's a fluctuation. Sometimes there's a lot of minority head coaches, and then everybody seems to be fine. And then sometimes they get fired, and then there's a bunch of white coaches, and then at that moment, it's like, oh, everybody's racist now, even though 30 seconds ago they weren't racist, but now they're racist, which I don't understand because they just had a black head coach. Why would they do that if they were racist? I don't understand. But I'm asking, are you explicitly saying that the NFL is so racist that you have to kind of make things mandatory and kind of try to push things through a little bit? Because if that's the case, we need to stop and back up and really reassess some stuff. There's a bigger issue here than just, oh, let's make some rules to try to help out these racists. And I've asked the question before, like in Green Bay, do you think, honestly, that Brian Gutekunst and Mark Murphy are just racists, and that's the reason Matt LaFleur is here? It's not because he's the best coach, not because he's the highest qualified, not because he was the best for the job, explicitly because there was a better minority head coach that they decided not to do because they just don't like minorities. Because this is very similar to the last call with Nate, where it's like, you have so much that you need to prove right now. Way more than Nate needed to prove. There is a mountain before you start accusing people of something that is horrifically evil, which is just being flippantly thrown around, just using statistics, like you said, on a very small sample size. Well, I expect 20% and there's only 6%, therefore you're all a bunch of racists. Like, wow, that is crazy to be throwing that around like that. And it's just accepted, like, oh yeah, that's just what it is. And so now we're going to put all these rules in place. Like, wait a minute, screw the rules. First of all, why are you watching this? Because this is and I've heard, Colin Kaepernick and a bunch of other players saying that these are basically slaveholders and everything else. It's like, first of all, we need to get to the bottom of this, because if that's true, we shouldn't be watching it. Why would you watch it? Why would you play in it? Why would you participate in this? Right? It's that's why I don't believe that it's true. I think people say it. I don't know why they say it if they don't believe it, but if they believed it, they would not be participating in this. You would not make a career out of covering this team and go to press conferences with the guy that you think is basically a KKK member and be like, oh, Gutekunst, I'm just curious about the arm length of Jim Smith over there. Do you think he's going to play tackle or do you think he's going to play guard? Bro, that dude is Hitler. And you're just going to sit here and be like, oh, no big deal. Oh. I don't understand. And if you don't believe that, then why are you saying such horrible things? And again, nobody wants to be specific. Nobody wants to say Gutekunst or that GM or that owner. Aside from a couple owners, people are happy to say it about them. I don't think any evidence. Maybe Jerry has done some stuff. I don't know. Some of these guys are scumbags for sure, but that doesn't mean that they don't still want the best people for the job. I don't like it because we're basically just calling people evil human beings because we just feel like it helps us get to what we want. And I think that's a horrible thing to do. I want to force something that I feel would make me feel better. And in order to get what I want, I'm just going to call you all evil human beings. And then that'll help me push a little closer to just an outcome that I arbitrarily feel would be better for society or something. Wow. That's freaking crazy. That's really crazy to me. Like, if you have specific allegations about a single person, let's talk about it. If you don't, I don't think you should do that. And again, all this conversation is part of the reason why yesterday I bring up things like Bieniemy. Because the fact of the matter is, every single owner, every GM, every whoever was called basically a horrific, terrible, evil racist for not hiring him as a head coach. And look at him now, he's a running back coach. You know why? Because he's not a good coach. And all these people are just being terrible human beings by leveling these disgusting allegations against people that have done absolutely nothing wrong. And if Eric Bieniemy was worthy of being a head coach, he would have gotten the job. But nobody knew how good of a coach he actually was. Nobody knew what those meetings were like when they sat down with him, where apparently he does not have a very good demeanor. Doesn't really get along with his players all that well and all that. But we're just going to disregard all of that. We're going to pretend that we do have all the information. And rather than just say maybe he's just not a very good coach, maybe there are actual legitimate reasons, we jump to the conclusion that everybody's just evil. And this is proof of that evil. And I think that's kind of sick. Because, I mean, listen, we can use basic logical deduction and prove that what you're saying is completely fallacious. It's very easy to prove that. Try to bring any of this stuff in front of a judge in a court of law. You're going to get laughed out of court. There's no evidence of anything that you're saying, but we're pushing forward policy, and it's hilarious that we push forward these rules and these policies that basically just assume that all these people are horrific, terrible racists. And the owners sign off on it like, oh yeah, definitely. We're all a bunch of racists. Okay, yep, we should do these rules. And you know why? Because they don't believe it either. They're trying to check a box for people. And we all just play this little game, and I don't know why we do it. Everybody's just participating in this stupid little game. If anybody is doing something horrifically wrong, if somebody's making comments, if somebody's doing things, if you find out that somebody is saying, I don't want that person working for me because I don't like people of that race or gender or whatever, that person needs to be out of the NFL, period. If they're not doing that, if there's no evidence of that, and you accuse somebody of that arbitrarily because you just feel like it, then you are a scumbag. It's really that easy. And it just takes all the fun out of it. Like most of us, you and I, Drew, and I would assume just about everybody that calls into this show, we watch, and none of this matters. When we brought in, for example, the new linebacker coach, or our defensive line coach, I'm over the moon. It never even registered what race he was. It didn't even occur to me. I looked at his resume and went, yeah, that's freaking awesome. I can't imagine going, yes, we're filling the quota. Whew, we were almost super racist there. Now we're slightly less racist. Like, that's just weird. And I had the same thing that happened when we hired Mike Smith, that pass rush coach that I was all jacked up about. You know why? Because he's a good freaking coach. And we've had really bad coaches with white skin and really bad coaches with black skin, and all of them should have been fired and not in here because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just hire good people. And by the way, the idea that there are like just a pool of like 100 people that are all perfectly adequate and you just need to pick from the pool, there is no perfect or right candidate, is so stupid. It's just a lame cop-out so that we can get what we want. Well, I hired this guy because he's the best guy. There is no such thing as best guy. What you need to do is put him back in the pool. Let's just assume that all 50 of these guys are adequate enough, and then you just need to pick the guy with the darkest shade of skin. That's freaking crazy, dude. Just shut up. Just go away and let people do their job. Can we stop doing this? Why do we have to drag this bull crap into stuff? Just be quiet. Just go away. I don't know the racial makeup of the coaches because it wouldn't even occur to me to look at it. Who cares? I think Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches of all time. He's awesome. I also think there are some black head coaches that are garbage and should be fired. And if they get replaced by white guys, and Mike Tomlin's the only black coach around, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't. Why would it? It's going to change again. The good coaches will stay, the bad coaches will get fired, and then they'll just continue to rotate in and out and in and out and in and out. That's just the way it goes. Why waste your time and energy on this stuff and stop accusing people of terrible things with no evidence? Stop doing that. And if you genuinely believe it, based on no evidence, stop watching football. Why would you support this? Why would you buy a ticket? Why would you buy a jersey? Why would you tune in and make them money with all the advertising? You're making these evil people very, very rich, and I don't know why you're doing that. And again, that's why I don't believe you when you say that. Because if you did, we'd be spending a lot more time talking about this guy should be fired. Gutekunst should not be employed because he's a horrible, evil racist. But I've never heard anyone actually say those words, and I don't know why. Again, because you don't actually believe it, which is why it's super crazy that we're basically saying that it's true. So yeah, I agree. I don't hear that stuff as much because I don't really listen to ESPN. I don't listen to a lot of stuff. I occasionally will go out to try to find some content, and usually it's just like a little 30 or 5-minute snippet of something Packers related, so I'm not going to hear much about that. The only time this happens is around this time of year, which is probably why you brought it up. There's a coaching cycle, and the same accountants have to come out and do the accounting and then make up reasons why things aren't the way that they want it to be, which I guess we're not going to talk about the fact that you seem to want it to be a certain way, which in and of itself seems morally not great. The fact that you're willing to levy horrifically baseless accusations to get these racist, arbitrary things that you want, I guess somehow makes you a good person. I don't know, but I know around this time of year we gotta have a big conversation. Gotta have a conversation. Which reminds me at work when everything has to be a meeting. It's like, bro, this doesn't need. Can you just let me frickin' work? Well, you didn't email me. We need to email. Let's set up a meeting, bro. Get out of my way and let me actually do something productive around here. You frickin' weirdos with your meetings. Nothing ever good has come out of a meeting ever. Same thing here. It's like let's pause. Let's have a discussion about it. Let's talk about it. Dude, shut up. How about you just shut up? Remember when like some stuff came out about John Gruden? What happened? We have evidence of a thing. The thing was wrong. He's out now. Done. Right? Wash your hands. Done. Did it. That's the thing. That's what I'm talking about. That wasn't right. Shouldn't have said it. We're going to ask you to step away because we don't want to be associated with that kind of behavior, which is weird that the NFL, which apparently only operates that way, decided that that wasn't good and made him leave. It's also just weird that they like impose these rules on themselves. Like, what are you doing? Like, we need these rules. Why? Well, because then we won't be racist. Like, you're racist? Like, no, I'm not racist, but we just got to do it so that we're not racist. What? Okay. All right. Okay, yeah, let's stop and let's have a meeting and let's have a discussion. Can't just frickin' watch football. We got to have kindergarten class about that's not nice and this is bad. Oh my Lord. So tired of being talked to like a 5-year-old all the time. I think instead of the national anthem for the Super Bowl, they should have Barney come out and sing I love you. You love me. We're a happy family with a great big hug and a kiss from me to you. Won't you say you love me too? And we can have Blippy come out and he can run up and down the field and show us stuff, show us our colors and our numbers. Teach us our ABCs, in fact. I would say have the DARE cop come out and tell us don't do drugs, but that's... NFL ain't going to care about that. We don't want to talk about that. That's a whole other thing, but... I don't know, man. You ever feel... And I feel like every adult feels this way, but you ever get to the point where you grow up and you look around and you're like, wow, when I was a kid, I thought everybody knew everything. And now that I'm grown up, I realize everyone's just an idiot. Everyone is just stupid all the time. And me too. Like I'm faking it just like everybody else. Like, oh yeah, I'm adulting for sure. I know how to adult. I know how to be a parent and a husband and a competent employee, and I know how to pay my taxes, even though I'm going to get freaking smacked in the face again for doing it wrong. But whatever, it's fine. At least I know my tax money will be sent to a good cause. Speaking of Blippy, maybe we can send $600 million to Pakistan to set up a Blippy out there. Everyone's an idiot all the time. And both of you guys are getting me ticked off now. Kyle, we'll get to on the other side of the break. We only did 2 calls. You guys are... Kyle, just calm down, all right? Don't come in hot on this one. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Kyle from Madison. I hope you are well today.
Me too.
I think it was Nate, called in. He was just talking about, like, losing position coaches and Halfley and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, that's tough. It's, it comes with success, right? I don't ask the Lions about it, I guess. I think it's very hard for me to imagine a world where 2 years from now, if the defense continues to be as good as it's been this year, that Halfley wouldn't be a head coach. I mean,
sure.
Nor would I want him. I mean, that's kind of the goal. But a guy with his pedigree who's already been a head coach at a different level, I just, and being the age he is, I mean, he's already gotten an interview this year,
right.
So, that's going to be his path. I mean, there's no way he's very young. There's just no way that isn't, what we should all want for him eventually. I mean, that's his career path. He's not Spagnuolo, like you had mentioned. Spagnuolo's kind of been there, done that. And I'm not even sure it's that teams aren't interested. It's just that if you're Spagnuolo, why would you go back to coaching? You're one of the highest paid D coordinators in the league. You're winning championships. Like, why would you want what? What are you going to achieve as a head coach anymore? Been there, done that. Whereas Halfley's got he's got his whole career ahead of him. And also I can just see, like, teams love to swoop in maybe even a year early for these young guys. Ever since the McVay push, LaFleur, O'Connell, I mean, I can just see correct or not, I can hear the narrative in my mind, on ESPN. Oh, he's like the defensive Matt LaFleur. I can just see that being a very attractive candidate, and it's hard to argue with that. Same thing with, like, Mannion, for example. I mean, whether it's his doing or not, if Jordan Love comes out and he's just back to his supernova form we saw.
Yeah, he'll be offensive coordinator.
I mean, there's a high likelihood that people are going to be interested in Mannion for probably a promoted position, maybe offensive coordinator. I don't know.
For sure.
Like, I guess that's just kind of them the breaks of being good. I do think it's possible that maybe, like, Halfley does the Ben Johnson thing where he kind of option shops if he's really good. Like, maybe we get him for another year, maybe two, but if we're doing good, man, I can't imagine we're going to have him for longer than that.
Yeah.
But that's why you got to get the bullpen warming up, right?
No, and I don't want to sound like a complete tool and be like, I hope he never gets another job. Freaking loser. There's always a part of, wanting him to succeed and wanting the best for him, obviously. But at the end of the day, I'm a Packer fan, and if it happens to work out that we only get what we want and he doesn't get what he wants, then I'll get over it, I guess. But no, how the Spagnuolo thing, however that works out, I do think it's a factor that he was a failed head coach, and that was kind of a long time ago. Not to say that nobody would ever try it again, because I'm sure that they would. But it's the combination. It's the fact that, he's not a massively high in demand head coaching candidate. And also, yeah, he's making a ton of money. All they do is win. He's one of the most respected defensive coordinator minds. Like, he's a wizard. Do you want to go get a minor pay raise to go to some garbage organization and suck again and everyone says you're a loser, and then you can't just walk back to, maybe you could walk back to Kansas City, but they're going to have to fill your spot. So they would have to fire that person. So, look, he's going to get his shot, probably, more than likely. I mean, we want him to get his shot because that means our defense was really that good. If he doesn't get a shot, probably everything fell apart. So it's going to happen. We knew it was going to happen. We know that these are short-term things. And then we'll see. We'll see if some of these other guys, we got a bunch of former defensive coordinators, or at least two of them, NFL defensive coordinators on our staff. Will they get a second shot or not? That's going to be a question, because if not, we got some talent, man. And, maybe we could even promote them to DC at some point. One of these two guys, I don't know. But I'm just excited about the staff. I'm excited about what they're going to be able to do. I'm excited about the wisdom they can impart to our guys. And I'm hopeful, we talk about brain drain. I'm hopeful that it doesn't all just go with the coach, that it stays with them. The way that Halfley instills a defense, that continues, rather than, like Ansley takes over and is like, okay, I'm doing it my way now. It's like, no. We need to continue the Halfley train. Who's going to be able to help us do that? Do we need to bring somebody else in, or is there somebody, maybe Dugan Duggan? Who knows? Maybe that guy's a freaking wizard. He kind of came up with the Halfley thing. I don't know. But yeah, obviously you want the best for the guy. It's the way it goes.
Yo, Brian, it's your uncle, Rico.
Yo.
I forgot I wanted to say something before. Maybe I said this on the show before, and this is just my opinion. Of course, it just bothers me. I think sometimes when I get maybe one draft pick, or even maybe a first round pick for a guy like Max Crosby, but
losing you.
How many years has he played in the league? So let's say you get him for the rest of his career, minus that. I mean, a first round pick could net you a Max Crosby, hopefully. I mean, there's no guarantees. That's why you do it. That's why you give a pickup for a proven veteran. But Max Crosby, I believe, was a fourth round pick. I think I haven't recently looked into that, but yeah. So anyone, I don't know what position in the fourth round. So let's just say any one of our top 3 or 4 picks could net us a Max Crosby. So it just really, it hurts me to give up more.
Yeah.
Some of these trades are just wild. Like, you're potentially giving up 3 Max Crosbys to get 1 Max Crosby sometimes, maybe 4, depending on, if you get 2 second-round picks for the guy or something.
Sure.
That's potential 2 Max Crosbys to get 1 half-used-up Max Crosby. It just, and I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's the way I look at it, And I know, Ryan, you always say a first-round pick this year is no different than a first-round pick next year. Well, I look at that a little different, too. But I understand, first-round pick, any round, any pick any year is the same as the same pick the next year. But to get it sooner, it has a little value in it to me, and I know you say that you don't think it does, but that's just neither here nor there. But you understand what I'm saying about the value of picks. You could, Tom Brady, 7th-round pick. Obviously, somebody would have traded 3 first-round picks at one point to get that guy. So, yeah, just food for thought. Rico out. Have a great day, y'all. Go Pack, go.
Well, and that's the thing where, people always say, well, it's stupid to keep a pick when you can trade it for a known commodity. And it's like, well, first of all, I kind of understand that, but it's not really a known commodity. It's used up. You have to pay for it, right? So you don't get the rookie part of it. And on the other side of it, I mean, you don't know that it's not going to work out. Like we've said, if you actually apply it to picks that do work, even not like elite picks, just take 2 solid players. Nobody wants to do the trade anymore. So, I understand that there's been misses in the first round, and so people tend to look at first-round picks with less desirable. It's easier to make the case, well, I wouldn't want to give up a second and a third because that's Reed and Kraft, than, shoot, I would hate to give up Stokes, But we understand, too, that there's still, despite the weirdness of it, first-round picks do have a lot of value, and, there are Justin Jeffersons in the late first round. There are TJ Watts in the late first round, and you don't want to miss those because, you might get something, this, that, or the other. So, I mean, there's always risk. There is. And, it would, of course, if you go and get somebody and it's not the greatest, and then sure enough, in that spot, somebody takes the next Justin Jefferson, everybody's going to remember, oh, look what you gave up. Look what you could have had. Look at, so there's always risk, and there's always going to be lose-lose because most of the time you're going to make the wrong decision. And that's why people like, I think, the free agent trades, because there's more of a certainty. There's less variability there. It's the safer way to go, but it's just not a super great long-term strategy. So, yeah, it's scary, but I also think, you've got to do something. You have to start putting some top-end talent. You have to at least attempt. It's not going to be a guarantee, but you need to do something to try to make sure that you put some of the premier talent. And I do think that that's where free agency can help you, because the draft is going to be really, occasionally, if you look at it as a percentage, occasionally you're going to get the the super elite blue chips. Most of the time, you're getting contributors through, solid starters, which we have tons of. And that's why I think we're in a great spot to really go into free agency. We have plenty of what the draft has to offer. Very young, very cheap, starting caliber talent. We have tons of those guys. What we're missing are the blue chips. So rather than using draft picks, which of course we still need to use some, I'm just saying, rather than prioritizing the draft, which is great at finding what we already have, let's see if we can swap a few of those. Let's give up a Reed and a Kraft for a Myles Garrett, Max Crosby type, whoever it is in your head. You may or may not like those guys. I don't know. I'm just saying. Because we have a bunch of Reeds and we have a bunch of Krafts. So, maybe it is time to invest a little bit. All right, folks. Well, that was a spirited discussion. I'm kind of glad that this one's going to be buried on the Super Bowl and nobody's going to listen to it. But I hope you all have a good night. Be safe. Don't drive drunk. Eat good food. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.